The day started like any other, mundane, predictable, and thoroughly Earth-like. I had just finished my morning ritual of strong coffee, and half-heartedly scrolling through interstellar news when my communicator buzzed with a call. The screen flickered, revealing a face I recognized but hadn't expected to see. Alithra, Zira's mother. "Good day, Earthling," she greeted, her voice a harmonious blend of kindness and authority. The way her lavender skin shimmered in the light always made me feel like I was conversing with a living work of art. "I hope this transmission finds you well." I straightened up, taken aback. Alithra rarely called me directly, usually leaving Zira to handle communications. Something about her formal tone made my human instincts prick up. "Alithra, this is a surprise. Is everything all right?" She nodded, her eyes, a deep, otherworldly violet, gleaming with a hint of mischief. "Indeed, everything is well. I was hoping you could visit our home today. Zira is away, but I believe it is time you and I had a conversation." The suddenness of the request threw me off balance. A conversation? Just the two of us? My mind raced through the possibilities, ranging from intergalactic diplomatic concerns to an accidental breach of Krillithian etiquette on my part. Still, curiosity outweighed caution. "Of course," I replied, trying to sound nonchalant. "What time should I come by?" "Now," she said, as if that were the most obvious answer in the universe. Before I could protest, the connection ended, leaving me staring at the now blank screen. A visit to Zira's family home was always an adventure, filled with the kind of sensory overload one might expect from a world with entirely different laws of physics and culture. Yet this felt different, more personal, more enigmatic. Their house was a marvel that defied the very essence of terrestrial architecture. Hovering above the ground, it shimmered like a mirage, its translucent walls pulsating with a rhythm that seemed alive. As I approached, the air itself felt lighter, charged with a subtle hum that resonated in my bones. The doorway opened with a soft whisper, and Alithra stood there, regal as ever, her presence commanding yet inviting. "Welcome," she said, gesturing for me to enter. I stepped inside, my earthly sense of gravity momentarily abandoning me as I floated a few inches above the ground. It was like stepping into a dream, a surreal blend of floating furniture, shifting light patterns, and an aroma that was simultaneously floral and metallic. I glanced around, noting the familiar yet alien surroundings. Their living room, or whatever passed for it, was a harmonious fusion of comfort and technology. A soft, glowing orb hovered in the center, casting a gentle, warm light. "Please make yourself comfortable," Alithra offered, motioning to a chair-like structure that adjusted itself to my size as I approached. I eased into the seat, which enveloped me in a cocoon of softness. Despite the initial unease, there was something oddly comforting about being here, amidst the strange yet inviting ambiance. Alithra sat across from me, her gaze steady, her smile serene. "I've always admired your willingness to embrace the unknown," she began, her voice soft but firm. "It is a rare quality among your kind." "Well," I replied, attempting to lighten the mood, "when your best friend is an alien, you kind of get used to the whole unknown thing, though I must admit, the floating furniture still catches me off guard." She chuckled, a sound like wind chimes caught in a gentle breeze. "It is not often we entertain Earthlings. Your perspective is refreshing." For a moment, we sat in comfortable silence, the room's ambient light shifting through shades of lavender and gold. I could feel the unspoken tension, the weight of an impending revelation. Yet Alithra seemed in no hurry, allowing the moment to stretch, to breathe. "I imagine you are curious about the purpose of my invitation," she finally said, her eyes twinkling with a hint of amusement. "Curious is an understatement," I admitted, attempting a light-hearted tone. "I half expected you to tell me I violated some cosmic law or that Zira forgot to pay her intergalactic taxes." Alithra smiled, her expression softening. "Nothing so dire, I assure you. My request is more personal." The way she said personal sent a ripple of anticipation through me. I braced myself, my mind racing with possibilities, none of which seemed to fit the serene yet serious atmosphere. "I have observed you for some time," she continued, her gaze unwavering. "Your resilience, your adaptability. You are unlike any earthling I have encountered." "Well, I do try to keep things interesting," I quipped, though my heart was pounding. "So what's the verdict? Am I in line for some kind of interstellar commendation?" Her laughter was light, melodic. "You jest, but in a way you are correct. What I am about to propose may seem unconventional by your standards." I leaned forward, caught between curiosity and apprehension. "I'm all ears." Alethra took a moment, as if carefully choosing her words. "I believe it is time for you to consider a deeper connection with our family, specifically, with me." The words hung in the air, surreal and unexpected. I blinked, trying to process what I had just heard. "Wait, what?" She smiled, her expression calm yet earnest. "I wish for us to form a bond, a partnership, if you will. It is rare, but not unheard of, for Krillithians to seek such connections beyond our species." For a moment, I was at a loss for words, my mind scrambling to make sense of the proposal. This was beyond any cultural exchange I had ever imagined. "Alethra, I'm flattered, but this is unexpected." "Life is often unexpected," she replied gently. "But I see potential in you, a compatibility that transcends our differences." I took a deep breath, attempting to steady my thoughts. This is a lot to take in. On Earth, we usually go through a few more steps before considering partnerships. Alethra nodded, her expression understanding. "I do not expect an immediate answer. Take your time. Know that my invitation stands, without pressure." As the conversation shifted back to lighter topics, the initial shock began to fade, replaced by a strange sense of calm. The absurdity of the situation, being courted by an alien matriarch, was tempered by Alethra's genuine warmth and sincerity. As I left their home, the evening sky of Krillith painted in hues of violet and indigo, I couldn't help but chuckle at the absurdity of my life. Marrying an alien? The universe truly had a sense of humor. The days following Alethra's proposal were a whirlwind of contemplation and bewilderment. The idea of marrying an alien matriarch wasn't something one could easily file under normal life events. Despite the strangeness, a part of me was curious enough to accept her follow-up invitation for another visit. This time, I was determined to understand more about her world, her family, and perhaps her intentions. The Krillithian house shimmered in the midday light, its crystalline structure casting prismatic hues across the surrounding landscape. Unlike Earth's rigid architectural norms, this home seemed to breathe, its walls pulsating with a subtle energy that resonated in my chest. Stepping onto the floating platform that served as the entrance, I was greeted by the familiar whisper of the doorway opening. Inside, the atmosphere was as surreal as ever. The furniture hovered effortlessly, each piece a masterpiece of form and function. The living room's centerpiece, a large pulsating orb, glowed with an intensity that seemed to sync with my heartbeat. Alethra awaited me, her presence as calming as the house's ethereal ambiance. "Welcome back," she greeted, her voice carrying a warmth that belied the otherworldly setting. "I trust you have had time to reflect." "I have," I replied, attempting to keep my tone light. Though I must admit it's not every day one gets a proposal from an alien matriarch. My friends would never believe me. Her laughter was soft, melodic. "Perhaps they would, if they understood the uniqueness of our connection." I smiled, though the weight of our previous conversation still lingered. "So, Alethra, about this house. Does it always float like this, or is it showing off for me?" She tilted her head, her eyes twinkling with amusement. "It is simply our way. Gravity is a suggestion here, not a rule." I couldn't help but chuckle. Must be nice to defy the laws of physics. On Earth, we're stuck with gravity whether we like it or not. Alethra led me to a seat that adjusted itself to my shape as I sat. The sensation was both comforting and disconcerting. like being wrapped in a gentle embrace by the furniture itself. "Tell me," she said, her tone inviting, "what do you find most intriguing about our home?" I considered the question, my eyes wandering across the shifting light patterns on the walls. It's like being inside a living organism. Everything feels interconnected, alive. Back home, our houses are just static structures. Here, it's like the house has a personality. She nodded, her expression thoughtful. Indeed, our homes are extensions of ourselves, reflecting the energy and harmony of those who dwell within. As we continued our conversation, I found myself relaxing into the surreal environment. Alethra's presence was soothing, her words a blend of wisdom and humor that made the alien seem almost familiar. I couldn't shake the feeling that, despite the bizarre circumstances, there was something profoundly human about her. Our discussion meandered from the philosophical to the practical, with Alethra sharing insights into Krylithian culture and technology. She demonstrated the house's adaptability, commanding the walls to shift and reveal hidden compartments filled with artifacts from their world. One such item, a small crystalline device, captured my attention. "What's this?" I asked, picking up the device carefully. Alethra's eyes sparkled with delight. "Ah, that is a memory crystal. It allows us to store and relive experiences." "Like a digital photo album, but for your brain?" I quipped, examining the intricate patterns etched into the crystal. "Precisely," she replied, her smile widening. "Would you like to try?" I hesitated, the thought of plugging my mind into an alien device both thrilling and terrifying. "Sure, why not? What's the worst that could happen? I get stuck reliving your last grocery trip?" Alethra chuckled, placing her hand gently on mine. "Do not worry. This crystal holds memories of a peaceful meadow, a favorite place of mine." She guided me on how to use the device, and as I activated it, my surroundings blurred into a soft, verdant landscape. The air was filled with the scent of blooming flowers and the distant sound of a babbling brook. It was breathtaking, a serene escape from the complexities of reality. When I returned to the present, Alethra was watching me with a serene expression. "What did you think?" "Wow," I breathed, the experience leaving me momentarily speechless. "It's like being there without actually being there. You've got virtual reality beat by a light year." She nodded, her satisfaction evident. "Our technology is designed to enhance, not replace, our experiences. It is a way to preserve the beauty of our world." As the evening progressed, I found myself more at ease with Alethra and her enigmatic world. The house, once an alien marvel, now felt like a welcoming sanctuary, a place where the extraordinary was ordinary, and the boundaries of reality were as fluid as the shimmering walls. As I prepared to leave, Alethra presented me with a small, glowing orb, a symbol of Krylithian friendship. "Take this," she said, her voice soft yet firm. "It is a token of trust and a reminder that you are always welcome here." I accepted the gift, the orb's gentle warmth resonating in my palm. "Thank you, Alethra. I'll treasure it." She smiled, her expression one of genuine affection. "You have become a part of our world in ways you may not yet understand. Remember, the journey of discovery is never ending." As I stepped back onto the floating platform, the house behind me shimmered in the twilight, a beacon of possibility and wonder. The universe was vast and filled with mysteries, but for the first time, I felt a deep connection to something beyond my comprehension, a bond that transcended worlds and defied explanation. The journey was just beginning, and I couldn't wait to see where it would lead. The next few days passed in a haze of reflection and curiosity. Every time I glanced at the glowing orb Alethra had given me, I felt an inexplicable warmth, as if her presence lingered in my world even when she was light years away. The orb's gentle pulsation seemed to sync with my own heartbeat, a constant reminder of the surreal bond I was forming with a family from a distant galaxy. It wasn't long before my communicator buzzed again. This time, the message was less formal, but equally intriguing. Alethra invited me back, promising a deeper dive into the customs of Krillith and, more importantly, an opportunity to indulge in what she called a true Krillithian feast. The prospect of alien cuisine was both enticing and mildly terrifying. Upon arrival, the house greeted me with its usual ethereal glow, the crystalline walls shimmering with a spectrum of colors that seemed to change with the light of the setting sun. Alethra welcomed me with a smile, her lavender skin reflecting the ambient light like a living gemstone. "Welcome back, traveler," she said warmly, guiding me into the dining area. The room was a sight to behold. A long, floating table stretched across the space, laden with an array of dishes that defied earthly culinary logic. Each plate held something that shimmered, glowed, or emitted a faint hum. The air was filled with a melange of aromas, sweet, spicy, and something I could only describe as electric. "I hope you're hungry," Alethra said, her eyes twinkling with amusement. "Tonight, you'll experience the finest of Krillithian gastronomy." I chuckled, trying to mask my apprehension. I'm always up for a culinary adventure, though I might need a translation guide for some of these dishes. She laughed, a sound like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. "No need. I shall be your guide through this journey of taste." As we sat, Alethra began introducing each dish, her descriptions blending humor and reverence. There was Lothra fruit, which glowed softly and tasted like a mix between mango and stardust. Grelkin strips, thin slices of a plant that, according to Alethra, thrived in the radioactive sands of Krillith's outer deserts, were crunchy and tangy, with a hint of spice that made my taste buds dance. One particular dish caught my attention, a bowl of shimmering liquid that seemed to shift colors with every movement. "And what's this?" I asked, eyeing it warily. "That," Alethra said with a mischievous grin, "is Zorath elixir. It enhances the senses and provides a mild euphoric effect. Think of it as our version of a fine earth wine, but with a bit more sparkle." I took a tentative sip, and the liquid seemed to effervesce on my tongue, filling my senses with an explosion of flavors and a gentle, soothing warmth. "Wow," I murmured, savoring the sensation. "That's incredible." We continued to eat, the conversation flowing as easily as the Zorath elixir. Alethra shared stories of her youth, painting vivid pictures of a world where the skies shifted hues with the seasons and the stars seemed close enough to touch. Her tales were filled with humor, like the time she had tried to domesticate a wild Krellian beast only to be chased through the fields, or the festival where she accidentally set off a chain reaction that lit up the entire village in a cascade of glowing flowers. As she spoke, I found myself drawn deeper into her world, the barriers of species and culture dissolving with each shared laugh and story. It was a reminder that, despite the vast distances and differences, the essence of connection and joy was universal. After the meal, Alethra led me to a sitting area, where we reclined on floating cushions that adjusted themselves to our every movement. The air was filled with a soft melodic hum that seemed to resonate from the walls themselves. "You've adapted remarkably well to our ways," Alethra remarked, her gaze thoughtful. "Many would find the transition overwhelming." I smiled, feeling a mix of pride and humility. It's not every day you get to immerse yourself in an alien culture. Besides, you make it easy. Your world is enchanting. She leaned in slightly, her expression softening. "And yet you remain grounded, your earthly humor a constant reminder of your origins. It is a quality I admire." I chuckled, scratching the back of my head. "Well, humor's a survival mechanism where I come from. You learn to laugh at the absurdity of life, or it eats you alive." Her eyes sparkled with amusement. "A wise approach. Perhaps that is why we find ourselves so intrigued by your species." The conversation shifted to lighter topics, with Alethra sharing more about the quirks of Krillithian society. I learned about their festivals, where the sky itself seemed to dance, and their art, which often involved creating sculptures that floated and shifted form in response to the viewer's emotions. She even told me about a popular Krillithian pastime, stellar gliding, a sport that involved riding the gravitational waves of their planet's many moons. I'm starting to think Krillith might just be the most exciting place in the galaxy, I said with a grin. Alethra laughed, her eyes twinkling. Perhaps, but excitement is subjective. To us, Earth's simplicity holds its own charm. As the evening drew to a close, Alethra presented me with another small token, a crystalline pendant that glowed faintly. "This is a symbol of our growing bond," she explained, her voice gentle. "A reminder that our worlds are not so different, and that connections can transcend even the vastness of space." I accepted the gift, the pendant's warmth resonating in my hand. "Thank you, Alethra, it means a lot." As I made my way home, the pendant hanging around my neck, I couldn't help but reflect on the evening. The laughter, the stories, the shared meal, it all felt so natural, so right. Despite the surreal nature of my experiences, there was a deep sense of belonging, a feeling that I was no longer just an observer, but a part of something far greater. The universe was vast, filled with endless possibilities and countless worlds. And in the midst of it all, I had found a connection that defied logic and transcended boundaries. It was a journey I hadn't anticipated, but one I was eager to continue. The pendant Alethra gave me never left my neck. Its gentle glow became a comforting presence, a reminder of the bond I was forging with her and the fascinating world she introduced me to. Yet, as days turned into weeks, I couldn't shake the feeling that my life was teetering on the edge of the extraordinary, a sensation that was both exhilarating and mildly terrifying. One sunny afternoon, as I strolled through the park with the pendant tucked beneath my shirt, my communicator buzzed again. This time, the message was brief and cryptic. "Meet me at the usual spot. We need to talk." It was from Alethra, and while the message lacked her usual warmth, it piqued my curiosity. The usual spot turned out to be a small clearing near the park's edge, where the trees parted to reveal a view of the distant city skyline. As I approached, I noticed Alethra standing there, her lavender skin shimmering under the dappled sunlight. Beside her was a figure I hadn't seen before, a tall, imposing Krillithian with an air of authority. "Ah, you made it," Alethra greeted, her voice carrying a mix of relief and something else. Was it apprehension? "Of course," I replied, my eyes darting between her and the new figure, "though I didn't expect company." Alethra's companion stepped forward, his expression stern but not unfriendly. "I am Tarok, Alethra's elder brother," he introduced himself with a slight bow. "It is an honor to finally meet the human she speaks so fondly of." "Pleasure to meet you, Tarok," I said, extending my hand instinctively. Tarok hesitated before taking it in a firm, somewhat awkward grip. "So, what brings you to our humble little planet?" Tarok's gaze shifted to Alethra, who gave him a nod. "I have come to discuss matters of importance," he said, his tone measured. "Our family has a long-standing tradition of unity, and your presence in Alethra's life is significant." I raised an eyebrow, sensing the weight behind his words. "Significant how?" Alethra stepped in, her expression softening. "Tarok is here to ensure that our customs and values are understood. He is, in many ways, the guardian of our family's legacy." "Guardian, huh?" I mused, attempting to lighten the mood. I didn't realize I was signing up for a family interview. Tarok's lips twitched in what might have been the ghost of a smile. "It is not an interview, but a dialogue. Your connection with Alethra has implications that reach beyond personal matters." I couldn't help but chuckle. I figured dating across species might have its complications, but I wasn't expecting intergalactic politics. Alethra laughed softly, easing the tension. "Tarok is merely being thorough. Our customs are intricate, and he wishes to ensure you are prepared for what lies ahead." The conversation continued, with Tarok explaining the nuances of Krillithian relationships and the responsibilities that came with them. Despite his serious demeanor, there were moments of levity, like when he recounted a humorous tale of a diplomatic mission gone awry due to a mistranslation involving the word for cake and explosive. As the afternoon wore on, the three of us settled into a more relaxed rhythm. Tarok's initial formality gave way to a more genuine curiosity about Earth and its customs. He was particularly fascinated by the concept of humor, which he admitted was somewhat elusive in Krillithian culture. "We do not often engage in humor as you do," Tarok confessed. "Our society values harmony and balance, which sometimes leaves little room for the unpredictable nature of laughter." "Well," I said with a grin, "you're missing out. Laughter is the best way to bridge differences. Trust me, a good joke can diffuse even the most awkward situations." Alithra nodded in agreement. Indeed, it was his humor that first drew me to him. His ability to find lightness, even in the most unusual circumstances, is refreshing. Tarok pondered this, his expression thoughtful. "Perhaps there is merit in your approach. Our worlds are different, but there is much we can learn from each other." Feeling emboldened, I decided to share one of my favorite Earth jokes. "Why did the Scarecrow win an award?" Tarok tilted his head, his curiosity piqued. "Why?" "Because he was outstanding in his field." For a moment, there was silence. Then, to my surprise, Tarok let out a deep, rumbling laugh, a sound that seemed almost foreign coming from him, but was undeniably genuine. "That is unexpectedly amusing," he admitted, his eyes twinkling with newfound mirth. "Perhaps there is more to humor than I realized." Alithra beamed, her gaze filled with affection. "You see, laughter transcends even the vastness of space." As the sun began to set, casting a golden glow over the clearing, Tarok rose to his feet. "I must return to our world," he announced, his tone now laced with a hint of warmth. "But know this, I have seen enough to trust in your bond. You have my support." "Thank you, Tarok," I said sincerely, standing as well. "That means a lot." He placed a hand on my shoulder, a gesture of solidarity. "Take care of my sister, and remember, our worlds may be far apart, but our hearts are closer than you think." With that, Tarok departed, leaving Alithra and me alone in the fading light. We stood in comfortable silence for a moment before she turned to me, her eyes shining with gratitude. "You handled that remarkably well," she said, a hint of pride in her voice. I shrugged, a playful grin spreading across my face. "What can I say? I've got a knack for interstellar diplomacy." Alithra laughed, the sound filling the space between us. "Indeed you do, and for that, I am grateful." As we made our way back, I couldn't help but reflect on the day's events. Meeting Tarok had been unexpected, but it had also deepened my understanding of Alithra's world and the complexities of our growing connection. The journey was far from over, but with each step, it became clear that the path ahead was one worth traveling, filled with wonder, laughter, and the promise of something truly extraordinary. Days after Tarok's visit, life resumed its curious blend of the ordinary and extraordinary. I found myself juggling the mundane tasks of earthly existence while navigating the nuances of my burgeoning interstellar relationship. The pendant around my neck remained a constant reminder of the connection I was forging, its gentle glow, a comforting presence. One evening, as I was unwinding with a cup of tea and a well-worn sci-fi novel, the irony wasn't lost on me, my communicator buzzed with a new message from Alithra. This time her words carried a playful tone. "Prepare yourself. My mother wishes to meet you formally. She has extended an invitation to our home. You may want to bring a sense of humor." The message left me both intrigued and slightly apprehensive. Meeting Alithra's mother felt like a significant step, especially considering the cultural differences. However, her mention of humor gave me a glimmer of hope that the encounter might be less formal and more engaging than I anticipated. On the appointed day, I made my way back to Alithra's home, the crystalline structure glimmering in the soft glow of Krillith's distant star. Alithra greeted me at the entrance, her lavender skin shimmering with a subtle glow of excitement. "You look nervous," she teased, her eyes dancing with amusement. "Who wouldn't be?" I replied, trying to keep my tone light. Meeting the mother of an intergalactic friend isn't exactly in the earthly dating handbook. She chuckled, linking her arm with mine. Relax. My mother is unconventional. You'll see. As we stepped inside, the familiar warmth of the house enveloped me. The walls shimmered with their usual ethereal light, but there was an added vibrancy tonight, an energy that seemed to pulse through the air. In the main living area stood a figure who could only be Alethra's mother. She exuded a regal presence, her lavender skin a shade deeper than Alethra's, and her eyes held a wisdom that spoke of countless experiences. Yet, there was a twinkle in those eyes, a hint of mischief that instantly put me at ease. "Ah, the human arrives," she greeted with a warm, melodic voice. "I am Alara, and it is a pleasure to finally meet the one who has captivated my daughter's attention." "The pleasure is mine," I replied, offering a slight bow. "I've heard much about you." Alara's lips curved into a smile. "Good things, I hope." "All good," I assured her, noting the playful glint in her eyes. "And if not, I promise I'm an excellent improviser." Alara laughed, a sound like the gentle ringing of bells. "I see you've inherited the earthly charm. It's refreshing." We settled into the sitting area, where a variety of glowing refreshments awaited us. As we sipped on a drink that tasted like liquid stardust, Alara began sharing stories of her own. Her tales were rich with humor and adventure, painting vivid pictures of her younger days, exploring the far reaches of Krelith. One story stood out, a misadventure involving a diplomatic mission to a neighboring planet, where a misunderstanding over a traditional dance led to an interplanetary incident. "Let's just say," Alara concluded with a chuckle, "I learned never to underestimate the power of body language." "I can see where Alethra gets her sense of humor," I commented, earning a nod of approval from Alara. "As much as I enjoy reminiscing," Alara continued, her tone shifting slightly, "there is a reason for this gathering." I straightened, sensing the conversation was about to take a more serious turn. Alara's gaze softened as she looked at me. "I've observed the bond forming between you and my daughter," she said, her voice gentle. "It is uncommon for our people to connect so deeply with those from other worlds, but I see something unique in your relationship." I nodded, unsure of where this was leading but willing to follow her lead. "In our culture," Alara explained, "such connections are not taken lightly. They are celebrated, nurtured. However, they also come with responsibilities, understandings that must be honored." Before I could respond, Alethra interjected with a playful grin. "What my mother is trying to say is that she approves of you, but wants to make sure you're ready for the quirks of our family." Alara chuckled, nodding. "Precisely. And to that end, I have a proposition." I raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "I'm listening." "We have a tradition, a bonding ritual of sorts," Alara began, her expression turning sly. "It's a light-hearted event, designed to test the harmony and compatibility of those who wish to form deeper ties." Alethra's eyes widened with delight. "You're not talking about the ether dance, are you?" Alara nodded, her smile widening. "Indeed. And I believe it would be the perfect opportunity for you to immerse yourself further in our culture." I glanced between them, curiosity piqued. "What exactly is the ether dance?" "It's a celebration," Alethra explained, her excitement palpable. "A mix of music, movement, and energy. Participants are paired and must navigate a series of challenges that test their synergy and adaptability. And it's as much about fun as it is about connection," Alara added. "Think of it as a cosmic version of Earth's dance competitions, but with a few unique twists." I couldn't help but laugh. "Well, I've never been much of a dancer, but I'm up for the challenge." Alethra beamed, her enthusiasm contagious. "I promise you, it'll be an experience you won't forget." As the evening progressed, we discussed the finer details of the ether dance, with Alara sharing tips and anecdotes from past events. The atmosphere was lighthearted, filled with laughter and anticipation. By the time I left, The initial apprehension I'd felt had been replaced with a sense of excitement. Meeting Alara had been an enlightening experience, and the prospect of participating in the ether dance was both thrilling and slightly daunting. Walking home under the starlit sky, the pendant around my neck seemed to pulse with a renewed energy. The journey I was on was unlike anything I'd ever imagined, filled with moments of wonder, humor, and profound connection. And as the stars above twinkled in silent approval, I knew that the adventure was far from over. The ether dance awaited, a cosmic celebration of unity and harmony, where the boundaries of worlds blurred, and the true essence of connection was revealed. The day of the ether dance arrived with an otherworldly vibrance. The skies above Krillith shimmered in hues of silver and violet, as if the cosmos itself were preparing for the celebration. I found myself both excited and apprehensive, unsure of what to expect, but eager to embrace the experience. Alethra met me at the entrance to the Grand Hall, where the event was to be held. She was adorned in traditional Krillithian attire, a flowing garment that seemed to be woven from strands of starlight. Her lavender skin glowed softly, and her eyes sparkled with anticipation. "You look stunning," I said, genuinely awed. "And you," she replied with a playful smirk, "look like you're ready for an interstellar prom." I glanced down at my outfit, an ensemble that Alethra had helped me choose, blending earthly style with Krillithian elegance. "Let's just hope I don't trip over my own feet," she laughed, taking my hand. "Don't worry, I'll be there to catch you." And the Grand Hall was a marvel of alien architecture. Its walls shimmered with a crystalline texture that seemed to pulse in rhythm with the music that filled the air, a melody both ethereal and grounding, resonating deep within my chest. The floor was a mosaic of glowing tiles, each one lighting up as participants moved across them. As we entered, I was struck by the diversity of beings present. Creatures from various corners of the galaxy mingled, their forms and features as varied as the stars themselves. It was a celebration of unity, a gathering of worlds converging in harmony. Alara greeted us with a warm smile, her presence as regal as ever. "Welcome to the ether dance," she said, her voice filled with pride. "Tonight, we celebrate connection, adaptability, and joy." "Sounds like my kind of party," I quipped, earning a chuckle from both Alara and Alethra. "The dance will begin shortly," Alara continued. "Remember, it's not about perfection, but about finding rhythm and synergy with your partner." Alethra squeezed my hand reassuringly. "We've got this." As the first notes of the music swelled, participants began to pair off, taking their places on the glowing tiles. Alethra and I found our spot, the floor beneath us lighting up in response to our presence. The dance began simply enough, a series of synchronized movements guided by the music's ebb and flow. Alethra's natural grace was evident, her movements fluid and confident. I, on the other hand, stumbled through the first few steps, trying to keep up without looking entirely out of place. "Relax," Alethra whispered, her voice soothing. "Feel the music. Let it guide you." Taking a deep breath, I focused on the rhythm, allowing the music to seep into my senses. Slowly, my movements began to align with hers, our steps becoming more harmonious. The tiles beneath us responded, their glow intensifying with each synchronized motion. Just as I was starting to feel more confident, the music shifted, introducing a series of unexpected changes. The tempo quickened, the melody twisted, and the tiles beneath us began to move, creating dynamic patterns that required quick thinking and adaptability. "Here comes the fun part," Alethra said with a grin, her eyes sparkling with excitement. We navigated the shifting floor together, our movements a dance of trust and instinct. There were moments of near misses, where I almost lost my footing, only to be steadied by Alethra's sure grip. At one point, as we dodged a particularly tricky tile pattern, I couldn't help but joke, "I feel like I'm in an alien version of Dance Dance Revolution." Alethra laughed, the sound a balm to my nerves. "You're doing great. Just don't let the floor beat you." As the dance progressed, the challenges grew more intricate. Holographic projections appeared around us, creating obstacles that required quick reflexes and creative problem-solving. We ducked, twirled, and leapt through the ever-changing landscape, our movements becoming more synchronized with each passing moment. Despite the complexity, there was an undeniable joy in the experience. The energy of the room was infectious, and the laughter and cheers of other participants added to the celebratory atmosphere. Each challenge we overcame together felt like a small victory, a testament to our growing bond. As the final notes of the music filled the air, the floor beneath us slowed its movement, the tiles settling into a steady glow. The dance came to an end, and the hall erupted in applause. Alethra and I stood side by side, our breaths heavy but our spirits high. "We did it," I said, a mix of relief and pride in my voice. Alethra nodded, her smile radiant. "And you didn't even trip once." Alara approached, her expression one of approval. "You both danced beautifully," she said, her voice filled with warmth. The ether dance is not just about movement, but about connection. Tonight, you have shown that your bond is strong. "Thank you," I replied, genuinely touched by her words. It was an experience I'll never forget. As the evening continued, the grand hall transformed into a space of celebration. Music, laughter, and conversation filled the air, and I found myself surrounded by beings from across the galaxy, each with their own stories and perspectives. Later that night, as Alethra and I walked home under the starlit sky, I couldn't help but reflect on the journey we had embarked upon. The ether dance had been a test of our connection, but more than that, it had been a celebration of the unique bond we were building. "I never imagined my life would take such an extraordinary turn," I admitted, the pendant around my neck glowing softly in the moonlight. Alethra smiled, her gaze filled with affection. "Sometimes, the most unexpected paths lead to the most beautiful destinations." As we stood beneath the vast expanse of stars, I knew that our journey was far from over. The ether dance was just one chapter in our story, a story filled with wonder, humor, and the limitless possibilities of a universe waiting to be explored together. The days following the ether dance were a whirlwind of reflection and subtle transformation. Life on Krillith, once a distant marvel, had become an intricate tapestry I now felt a part of. Each day brought new experiences, deeper connections, and a growing realization of how much I had changed since this journey began. Alethra and I spent our time exploring not just the wonders of her world, but the nuances of our bond. Our conversations grew more profound, peppered with laughter and shared curiosity about our respective worlds. The line between Earth and Krillith blurred, merging into a shared existence that defied the vastness of space. One afternoon, as we lounged in a serene garden filled with bioluminescent flora, Alethra broached a topic that had been simmering beneath the surface since the ether dance. "You've adapted remarkably well," she said, her voice thoughtful. "It's not every day a human integrates so seamlessly into an alien culture." I chuckled, plucking a glowing petal from a nearby plant. "Adaptation has been a running theme, though I admit I've had excellent guidance." She smiled, her eyes reflecting the soft glow of the garden. "Still, it's not just about guidance. You've embraced this experience with an open heart and mind. That's rare." Her words stirred something within me, a recognition of my own growth. The man who had once marveled at the mere concept of extraterrestrial life had now become an active participant in an interstellar relationship. The universe, once an abstract idea, was now a tangible part of my reality. "I suppose it's because I've realized how vast and interconnected everything truly is," I mused. "Being here, with you, has shown me that the boundaries we often perceive are just illusions." Alethra nodded, her expression one of quiet understanding. "And that realization has changed you." "It has," I agreed, "in ways I'm still discovering." As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting the garden in hues of violet and gold, we sat in comfortable silence, the weight of our journey settling around us. There was a sense of completeness in the air, a feeling that the threads of our story were weaving together into a coherent whole. Later that evening, we returned to Alethra's home, where Alara awaited us with her customary grace and warmth. She greeted us with a knowing smile, her gaze holding the wisdom of someone who had seen countless stories unfold. "I see the ether dance has done its work," she said, her tone both playful and sincere. "You both carry its lessons with you." "It was more than a dance," I admitted. "It was a reflection of everything we've been through, an embodiment of connection, trust, and the beauty of navigating the unknown together." Alara nodded, her eyes twinkling. "And now, as you stand on the threshold of new possibilities, the question remains, what will you do with the knowledge and growth you've gained?" And the question lingered in the air, prompting introspection. Alethra and I exchanged a glance, understanding passing between us without the need for words. The journey we had embarked upon had not only brought us closer, but had also opened doors to a future filled with limitless potential. In the days that followed, I found myself reflecting on my time on Krylith and the profound impact it had on me. The experiences, the connections, and the lessons learned had reshaped my understanding of the universe and my place within it. One evening, as Alethra and I strolled through the bustling market district, a thought occurred to me, a realization that had been building quietly in the background. "You know," I began, "this journey has taught me that while the universe is vast and full of unknowns, it's the connections we make that give it meaning." Alethra smiled, her hand finding mine, "And those connections are what guide us, even through the most uncharted territories." As we continued walking, the vibrant energy of the market enveloped us, a testament to the thriving, interconnected web of life that spanned across galaxies. Each interaction, each shared smile, was a reminder of the beauty that lay in diversity and unity. And the conclusion of my time on Krylith felt less like an ending and more like the beginning of a new chapter. The bonds I had formed, the lessons learned, and the growth experienced were treasures I carried with me as I prepared to return to Earth. On the day of my departure, Alethra and Alara accompanied me to the transport hub, their presence a comforting anchor amidst the bittersweetness of farewell. "Remember," Alara said, her tone gentle yet firm, "the universe is full of stories waiting to be told. Yours is just one of many, but it's uniquely yours. Cherish it and let it guide you." Alethra stepped closer, her gaze filled with a mixture of sadness and hope. "This isn't goodbye," she whispered. "It's merely a pause, a chance for us to explore our paths before they converge again." I nodded, the weight of her words settling in my heart. "And when they do, I'll be ready." With one final embrace, I stepped onto the transport, the familiar hum of the engines resonating beneath my feet. As the vessel ascended, carrying me away from the vibrant world of Krylith, I looked out the window, taking in the view of the planet that had become a second home. Back on Earth, life resumed its rhythm, but I was no longer the same person who had left. The universe, once a distant concept, was now a vibrant, interconnected reality, a reminder that even in the vast expanse of space, it was the bonds we formed that truly mattered. As I settled back into the familiar surroundings of my home, I found solace in the knowledge that my journey was far from over. The experiences, the connections, and the growth would continue to shape my path, guiding me through the uncharted territories of life. And in the quiet moments, when the night sky stretched out above me, I would look up at the stars, knowing that somewhere, amidst the vastness of the cosmos, a part of me would always be on Krylith, carrying the light of an extraordinary adventure and the promise of more stories waiting to be written.